Thank you for joining me for this talk on hunting bumblebees in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I was in this area towards the end of June 2024. You're looking at an image of Horsethief Lake, which is on the Forest Service land. The Black Elk Wilderness is off to our right or south. And I went into the Black Elk Wilderness and was in the Forest Service lands hunting bumblebees, 3 to 4 miles south of this site. So away from the lake and uphill in the Black Elk Wilderness. Also finding some right in this area in the campground. If you look dead ahead, it's really kind of south and southeast, pointing towards off in the distance, which we can't see, would be where Mount Rushmore is. So we'd be looking at the back of Mount Rushmore. So here you see a Google Earth image, and if you look carefully left of center, you'll see the Black Hills that are just being dissected here, or near Interstate 90. To the east of the Black Hills, you'll see the white area, which is the Badlands, and come back to the Black Hills, you'll see the town of Keystone, which is south and west of Rapid City, and I am just to the west of Keystone. So here we're seeing a Google map of the area, and you'll see my label for Route 244. Route 244 is the road that runs roughly between Hill City and Keystone. You can see it's an east-west road, and where the star is, just to the right of center, is Horsethief Lake. From Horsethief Lake, you would drive on 244 just a bit south and east to Mount Rushmore. The Black Elk Wilderness is located to the south of Route 244, easily accessible from roads all around it. And with that, we'll move on and look at some of the terrain. So here you can see on the left that image again of Horsethief Lake. I was in the campground near there, and then heading south into the Black Elk Wilderness and west along some of the trails, 3 to 4 miles into the Black Elk Wilderness area. On the right-hand side, you can see the sign for the Black Elk Wilderness, but this is the trail that basically runs parallel west with 244 and is the Willow Creek Trail. Gives you a pretty good indication of what the vegetation looks like. So it's ponderosa pine dominated. I'm going back in time to show you some images from 2011 when the mountain pine beetle first came into the area and devastated a lot of the forest. And so here you can see on the trail, now there's a lot of dead timber, but the regeneration is pretty thick in terms of the pine have come back. This trail you're seeing on the right is the one that runs between Horsethief Lake up to Mount Rushmore to the east. And then this is a present day view. You'll see a bunch of snags in here from dead pine trees, but where there's a little bit more moisture, you can see that there's plenty of vegetation with even some birch. This is aspen that you're seeing with pine and plenty of understory vegetation. So these two images that we're looking at are along the Horsethief Trail, again running roughly north-south from Horsethief Lake to the south. The image on the left, the reason I wanted to show you this is, I don't know if you can see it very well, but the tree in the foreground that you see top right of that image, that's oak. And so those of you that live in the northern states in the east, like here Maine going out, maybe even to Michigan and beyond, you'll recognize a lot of the plants here, not only trees, although this is bur oak, but there's also white spruce, and I mentioned aspen, quaking aspen, and birch. So, but some of the understory vegetation also might be very familiar to you. Anyway, this is a shot roughly a couple miles south of the lake, looking back towards the north. But I just wanted you to see that, there's a lot of vegetation here, especially where there's a little more moisture. You're going to get some of these broadleaf species and plenty of understory. Now, on the right is about 3.5 miles out on Horsethief Trail, and you can see, hopefully you can see the pink flowers from the wild rose. And this is where I encountered a lot of bumblebees and other bees, including some yellow jackets and such, that were feeding on the wild rose. The bumblebees were busily collecting pollen from them. So I encountered this bee, a couple of bees, but this one in particular has me stumped because I don't have great images. And so I've kind of narrowed it down to 3 bees just because of the extent of the coloration, yellow or orange coloration on the bumblebee. Again, it was on wild rose. These are extracted, and you'll see them again from a video. And unfortunately, I'm missing the parts that would help me with the diagnosis of what species this is. But I'm going to walk you through my thinking. I have posted these images and 2 others to the Bumblebee Watch a couple of weeks ago. I still haven't heard anything just yet. I'm recording this in the middle of August 2024. So we're going to look at yellow, Morrison, and Nevada bumblebee, and we'll see what you think and if you agree with my logic. So let's start with yellow bumblebee, Bombus fervidus. And this is, of the 3, this is the smaller. It can get up to 21 millimeters in size, the queen, that is. Workers tend to be, of course, smaller and up to 2/3 the size. It's described both as short and medium hair but even. So anyway, you can see that the hair throughout the body is fairly even. The thorax on yellow bumblebee tends to be yellow, except there's a black band that runs between the wings, and the thorax has yellow on the sides. The abdomen is almost exclusively yellow. They call it T1, T2, T3, T4 for the tergite, which is the upper abdomen. And so those are yellow on the yellow, except there is a variant where T2 and T3 will be black, but there's always a band on T4 that's yellow. The rest of that 5 and 6 is often hard to see, and they are always black. And on my specimen here, I realize this isn't a great image. Clearly you can see what looks like 2 bands, possibly T4 and 5, that are black. So I was kind of ruling out that this is yellow bumblebee. And it is possible for yellow bumblebee to be lacking that band. That is possible as well. And the color variation can happen as well. I see bumblebees here that are both white and yellow. So variation in the color does happen. Now looking at Morrison and Nevada bumblebee, these tend to be a little bit larger. Morrison queens can be up to 26. Nevada usually 24 or 25 millimeter for the queen. And again, the workers will tend to be about 2/3 that size or a little smaller. Both of these are described as having short and even hairs, black and yellow. The thorax on the Morrison will be yellow with some black hairs mixed in between the wings. In the Nevada, it's yellow hairs with black spot between the wings. And the abdomen on both of these is T1, T2, and T3. That tergite, the upper portion, will be yellow, 1 through 3. Again, there's variations in this, but this is what the majority of what you might see. Okay, so now the head and the cheek size. Bumblebees kind of break into 3 groups. At one extreme, you have the smaller, shorter head. At the other extreme, you have the larger head or longer head. And Morrison tends to have the shorter head, and because of that, it has a short cheek, but it's shorter than it is broad. And the reverse for the case for the long-headed, their cheek is longer than it is broad. And then, of course, there's some bumblebees that are in between. So since I don't have a great image of my bees, it's hard for me to judge this characteristic. One of the other characteristics, because I don't have good head shots and I do not have good leg shots, the mid-leg base of tarsus. So what is the base of tarsus? Well, take a look at the Nevada bumblebee on the right here. And you'll see on the hind leg that's showing on that beautiful petal, the pollen sac, okay? And beyond that is all the tarsus. But in bumblebees, you have this very enlarged first segment, which is called the base of tarsus. So that is used, and the shape of that back end, which we can't see here, will be used to help identify a bumblebee as well as the cheek. So on Morrison, it's rounded, and it's on all of these, it's the middle leg, not the hind leg, the middle leg. The base of tarsus on the back corner will be rounded in the Morrison and pointed in the other two. One author describes spine-like in the yellow, but both of those will be more pointed than rounded in the Morrison. And again, I don't have good shots of the head. I don't have good shot of the leg in order to be able to confirm this. That would have done it for me. Hairs also. Hair on the face now. So the face and the head. All of these have black face, but with the Morrison, the top of the head will have yellow mixed in. In the Nevada, the face and the upper head are black, but there could be some yellow hairs. And in the yellow bumblebee, it's a black face with some short pale or yellow hairs mixed in, depending on what author you listen to, and some variation. So the pale has me a little worried, that comment, and you'll see why in a second. So here is my bumblebee, again, near the campsite on Wild Rose in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And you can see clearly a little bit of black mixed in between the wings on the thorax, and the head has significant amount of yellow hair. And then we get a closer look here, and it almost looks more like a spot between the wings on the thorax, but look at the pale on the face. So that worries me. And then here you can see it's in this third capture from the video, black hairs mixed in between the wings. And that's kind of the reason, and because of the yellow hairs on the top of the head, it was leaning towards Morrison. And the other reason I'm leaning away from yellow bumblebee is that this looks like 2 segments on the abdomen that are black, which would rule out yellow bumblebee. But again, not a good cheek shot on the head, not a good leg shot on the middle leg. So, but anyway, I'm leaning towards Morrison bumblebee. Not sure what the experts are going to say, but that's kind of my guess. Although, look at the hairs on the face and the head here. So, interesting little conundrum. So, thank you for joining me for this talk on hunting bumblebees in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I appreciate your interest. I'm going to have a follow-up video which will look at the life history or behavior of these three bumblebees. So please join me for that one in the near future. Thank you. Take care.